Hello class, my name is Enrique and our group project was the long-term consequences of the Treaty of Versailles. Now, right off the bat, the Treaty of Versailles would be the building block to Hitler's rise to power. How so? There are a couple points that lead to that. The first is the war guilt clause in the Treaty of Versailles, which practically blamed Germany for the start of World War I. And as we all know, that's not true. It's everybody's fault and nobody's fault. It's very complicated. Number two is the war reparations. Basically entailing that Germany had to pay for the entire war. All the damage, all the fuel, etc. That amounted to about $31 billion. Adjusted to inflation today, that's just over $400 billion. The other point is the military was practically non-existent. No subs, no boats, no navy. The army and their air force was so tiny it was practically non-existent. And this is a culture that has deep ties to being proud in warfare. And lastly, the land. Germany lost a ton of land in the Treaty of Versailles. Poland increased, taking much of the Eastern Bloc. Austria-Hungary split. Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia were created. Germany had to hand over its colonies in Africa and in the Pacific. So what does this lead to again? Hitler's rise to power, and Hitler would eventually cause World War II. That's not to say there would have been a World War II if it would have gone the other way, but Hitler is paramount to the Treaty of Versailles because it would propel him to the German front.
Of the treaty would be its economic ramifications and how it affected America and Germany. The two countries would be seen as polar opposites. America, entering the Roaring '20s, would experience an economic skyrocket, while Germany, also going through a depression at the time, would be going through handling reparations, hyperinflation, and losing many industrialized territories, such as Rhineland, which at that time was a major asset to Germany. We've also recently gone over Keynes and how he was against the treaty. He would predict Germany's retaliation that was to come in the future as a result of the harsh punishments we put on Germany.
I'm going to be talking about another one of the effects of the Treaty of Versailles, which was the geopolitical instability which was caused by the treaty itself. Now, the treaty itself created a number of countries, including Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia in Europe and Iraq in the Middle East. These countries were not very well suited in the way that they were created because they forced multiple people groups together to live under one country and one government when they would rather have lived on their own in their own countries. This also went against Wilson's ideas of self-determination by forcing these people to do what others wish them to instead of allowing them to choose their own paths. In Iraq, the country was primarily created for the fact that it had large oil reserves, which benefited Britain if it existed as one country economically. In Yugoslavia, it would eventually lead to multiple civil wars, which would take place, and eventually United Nations intervention in the 1990s. In Czechoslovakia, the country broke apart peacefully, but neither of the countries that made it up wanted to be together.